So we've recently been getting a lot of comments asking what is SMA. And I think in this video, it's time for us to explain. SMA is so much attitude.
I have so much attitude.
Oh, wait, I thought they were asking about my SMA.
Oh,
I do have so much attitude.
do you have type 1 or type 2?
I think it's type 1,
Type 1?
the most severe, so much attitude.
No, but in all seriousness, we have been getting lots of questions about what my condition is, what the life expectancy is, what the complications are. So today's video is devoted to SMA. So much attitude. Type 1. I'm Conor.
I'm Marisa.
And together we're
Carissa.
Sweet.
I
Nailed
got
it.
that one.
You did.
So, in reality, the video we're going to be talking about is what is SMA. We get a lot of comments asking if Conor was born with it, if it's something I knew before I met him that he had. Did he just get it from socializing around people? Like how? In all reality, it is called spinal muscular atrophy. It's a neurological condition.
What was that?
It's a neurological condition. I'm not the one with the neurological condition, but trying to say neurological, you might think that I am. So it affects the SMN1 gene specifically. It is recessive,
It is recessive.
meaning the parents have to be both carriers of this recessive gene to have someone exhibit SMA.
What it could be.
Or you could have SMA
Yeah.
and have a child with another person who has SMA, and the child will have SMA.
So let's go back to biology for a second. If both parents have SMA, the child will absolutely have SMA. If both parents are carriers, there is a 25% chance that they will have SMA. If one parent exhibits SMA and the other is a carrier, there's a 50% chance that the child will have SMA.
You've got one permutation combination.
If none are carriers?
No, if one exhibits SMA and the other one parent is not a carrier.
Oh, then the child will be a carrier regardless, but not exhibit.
So there are four different types of SMA.
There were 3 types when I was a child, but they've opened it up to 4 types.
It's generally differentiated by the onset of noticing symptoms and being diagnosed. But I think now recently with all the like fancy schmancy science old tech, it is more based off of the specific copies of the SMN gene and the lack of SMN1 gene, right?
So when I was younger, it was differentiated by age of onset. So type 1, which is the most severe, the onset was typically, within a few months of birth, they started noticing muscle weaknesses. Type 2 was later in life. So for me, that was around the age of, what age should babies start walking?
Like 1.5, 1.
So like 1.5, I wasn't hitting my milestones, specifically walking. There was a brief period where I crawled and I could like roll over and do that. I could hold myself up, but I never walked. So that's kind of when I knew something might be up. Type 3 is like young adolescence. So typically like right around puberty age is when you start seeing lack of strength. But yeah, as Marisa said, nowadays they diagnose it by the number of SMN2 copies that people have. So, SMA it affects the SMN1 gene, the SMN2 gene, and it says kind of a backup for the SMN1, but it's not as, I guess, effective at transmitting uh, neurological signals to the muscles. So, it does it, it just doesn't do it as good. Um, so basically, the more SMN2 genes you have, the better off your muscles are. So, SMA type 1 don't have many SMN2 genes. SMN type 3 and 4 have lots. Um, that was my very basic understanding of neuroscience and medical nonsense.
So I think another question that we kind of get frequently is what is the life expectancy? And I feel that like that's almost a trick question these days.
Yeah,
I mean, so I think if you Google life expectancy of SMA, you'll get literally something from 2 years to like normal life
yeah.
expectancy.
That's really it's a very clickbaity like question, right? Like, because I can very easily sit here and be like, oh, I have a short life expectancy. I mean, and it's true. Like when I was born, the doctors told my parents that I probably wouldn't live past the age of 2. And here I am at 38. Well, 30,
Wow. You just
37.
made up some numbers here.
37. I mean, I'll be 38 in a week. Cut me some slack. Um, so clearly they were wrong. Uh, but yeah, there are, SMA is definitely a severe condition, and lots of people die from it. I know or have known many that died very young with my condition. Um,
I mean,
but
there's also some just recently in their 40s and 50s that have died from it.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's really just.
it runs the gamut. I mean, I think the most truthful way that I can explain it is SMA itself is not a terminal condition. There is nothing about SMA that would lead to an early death. However, there are a lot of sort of peripheral complications that come with SMA that do lead to death. Um, the biggest of which are the respiratory complications. I mean, a lot of SMA people deal with major respiratory issues. I could probably say I've had pneumonia no less than 3 dozen times in my life. Um, my lungs are just so weak that if I get just a regular cold, chances are it's gonna get into my chest and turn into pneumonia. It happens. But with antibiotics, with the breathing machines that they have now, um, I've been able to fight them off, and I'm still here.
I mean, I guess to touch on another thing that we kind of get asked, which is related also in terms of respiratory, I think a lot of people comment below asking, like, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't think that's respiratory. I mean, it is. Projection, diaphragm, for sure, but it also affects my speech. Mouth movements are not as easy for me.
I just wanted to touch on it.
Yeah.
Just
Some other, major complications, scoliosis. I had a spinal fusion in second grade because my spine was, like a pretzel. Uh, I think that's something typical of people with SMA. And in fact, that the scoliosis that I had was so severe that it was causing a lot of my pneumonias because the spine was actually crushing my right lung. So once I did have a spinal fusion, my pneumonia is severely reduced. Um, The other complication that's a big one that most people don't talk about or realize is heart complications. Um, this is ancillary to respiratory. So obviously the heart is a muscle, and any muscle that works out gets bigger. Uh, Due to the respiratory issues, the heart actually typically beats faster and stronger because it's trying to compensate for the lower oxygen that you're taking in from the issues with not being able to breathe as well. Because of that, the heart tends to get bigger. So most people with SMA actually have enlarged hearts.
So, I guess to piggyback off of all of that, what are some daily complications somebody with SMA might face, or specifically you?
I mean, I think you can talk about this because you have to deal with me on a daily basis. And also the internet says I talk too much, so I'll
Oh,
let Marisa take this
oh, thanks, babe.
one.
So, I mean, I guess some sort of daily complications you could say are apnea. So
Yeah,
at night, Connor does use a breathing machine, also known as, I think yours is a VPAP,
it's a VPAP, yeah.
but CPAP, BiPAP are all kind of PAPs that could be used. And that's,
Not to be confused with Pap smear, just
and
saying.
I'm not sure anybody
For,
would get confused with
for
that.
anyone that doesn't know.
Another thing, just, I mean, Connor is someone who exhibits SMA that uses a wheelchair full time.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things such as like pressure sores or, being on his bum most of the day, just not being able to release that pressure. That's kind of something that,
I'd say it's more like that.
I mean, his back does hurt a lot. Yeah. Something else that's a daily complication is aspiration. That's a pretty common, um, goes along with SMA.
Yeah, you know, I have a weak swallow. Um, Most people with SMA have swallowing issues, so um, we aspirate, which, if you're unfamiliar with aspiration, it's essentially when you are swallowing liquid food and it goes down your lungs instead of uh, your belly. Um, Luckily, I've developed
Some techniques.
some techniques to cough things out. For everyone watching this, probably gonna comment, well, why don't you have a feeding tube? Great question. I've had a feeding tube several times. And they just did not mesh well with my lifestyle. Um, the first time I had a feeding tube, it got ripped out of my stomach 6 times, 7 times.
I mean, I think your dad became a pro about reinsertion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's how frequently it
One
happened.
time it happened on the Big Red Boat, which, if you don't know what that is, it was the precursor to Disney's cruise line. I think I was 6, maybe, and my parents took me on a Disney cruise, and it popped out, and my dad had to stick it back in the middle of the ocean with a paintbrush. So, yeah.
And I think one of the other things that people, I mean, I don't think it's a complication. I think it's just something that occurs is just the bowels
Yeah.
and what that means with, as the bowels are muscles,
Mm-hmm.
what that means with SMA when it's basically SMA is a deterioration of the muscles.
Right. Yeah. Trying to think of a PG way to talk about this.
I mean, we'll just put it this way, it impacts muscles. So sometimes some people can have problems with them actually functioning properly and or getting filled up.
We'll just put it this way: one of my daily medications may not be a laxative because I have trouble with twosies. But that was PG.
Yeah. you're right. Nice explanation.
Yeah.
All right. And I think the last question is, with all of these things that we're explaining and everything, what medications are out there for SMA,
Yep.
or do you take because of SMA?
Yeah. So there are, as of fairly recently, some medications that have come out to treat my condition. There are 4 that I know of. There's, I'm gonna butcher these names.
I was saying, you want to go? You want me to go?
Where you go?
All right. So I'll butcher them because I'm great at English. So the first one I think is the original. It's Spinraza. The next one that came out was Evrysdi. Then recently-ish kind of is Zolgensma, and the most recent, I think it came out in 2025,
Yeah.
is Itvidsma.
Yep.
So do you want me to?
Yeah.
So, basically Spinraza, Zolgensma, and Ividsma are all spinal injections. Well, Spinraza can be given, I think it's every 6 months?
3.
Every 3 months? I don't know. We don't take that
4.
one, so we don't really know what it is.
I tried.
So in order to be eligible to take a spinal injection, they have to have access to the spinal column. And what's the fancy term they use for it?
It's an intrathecal injection.
Intrathecal injection, meaning they have to find a space in the spinal column to inject this fluid. So as Conor mentioned earlier, he does have a spinal fusion, and unfortunately, he tried Spinraza, but they were not able to find a space in the intrathecal space to inject the Spinraza.
There are people out there that I know of that also have that issue, that have opted to get injections into their
cervical, right?
Cervical spine, which is in your neck, which scares the crap out of me, because that's how you get paralyzed. So yeah, I don't do that.
The next one is Evrysdi, and that one is what Conor does take.
Yes.
It's a daily oral medication, so he does take it orally. They just recently came out with a pill form, which is still orally, but the one that he takes is the liquid form, so he takes a dose every day.
When I remember.
And then the next one is Zolgensma. I'm not super familiar with it, but I believe it's more geared towards the younger population.
It is. I think you have to be under 2, I believe,
to be eligible to receive it. It is also a intrathecal injection, but this one is a one-time gene therapy, meaning that it basically binds to the gene and alters the gene. So when you're under 2, you're really growing your body. And
from what I've heard, and again, I don't know a ton about this, but my understanding that it's essentially as close to a cure as you can get.
And I think especially when the children are under 6 months, or within birth to 6 months, if they receive it. The last one is Idvitsma. It's very, very, very recent.
Yep. And also from the box that I've read, it has some pretty serious side effects. So, but it's also a gene therapy,
which is, I think, available to
it's available to
everyone. It's not specifically targeted to a specific age range population. Just to clarify, even if Risdi and Spinraza, or has that gotten approved, it's been the same dose regardless of your...
Spinraza, I believe, it's either clinical trials or was just approved for high dose injections.
But prior to this, clinical trial being released, regardless of if you were 25 pounds or 105 pounds, you still receive the same dosage. Yep. So that was kind of a...
Yep.
Interesting.
And they all sort of have their own listed side effects. I don't really experience any from adversity, with the exception of possibly the fertility stuff. One of the known side effects of adversity is lower sperm count and motility. It's one of the things that we talk about with my fertility journey. Should I stop taking the medication to see if that helps? Our doctor didn't seem to think that my fertility issues were related to the obesity, or at least, maybe that was a contributing factor, but not the biggest factor. So he did not recommend going off of it.
So, I mean, I think that kind of summarizes.
Well, did you know about me before?
Oh, did I know about him? No, I've never known who he was before I met him.
Full story.
I mean, I didn't know what SMA was prior to meeting him, honestly. It's not something that I had a prior knowledge of. I mean, he did let me know he was in a wheelchair.
Did you do any research into SMA when you found out?
Yeah, I was like, dang, he's like a rock star. He was supposed to die at 2 and he's still alive.
So much attitude. But no, did you?
I mean, I looked it up.
It didn't scare you off.
It wasn't super helpful, to be honest.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I hope that we're here to kind of dispel that not helpfulness and provide information out there.
So yeah, hopefully I answered the questions that we keep getting. But if it didn't, drop your questions in the chat. This is not a live stream. So I've been doing this too much now. I don't even know what to say. Drop your questions in the comment box, and we will answer them, or try to answer them. I would also like to point out, this is not medical advice. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about most of the time. So I would do your own research about specifically the drugs with SMA. And if you want to learn more about, SMA1 versus SMA2 genes and how they interact and result in what SMA is, I'd say do your research. This is my very, very basic understanding of the condition.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, it's not like they were like, oh, congrats, you have SMA. Here's a giant medical dictionary about everything about your disease. Read up on it just in case anybody asks you these questions. So you have a really good answer, and good luck.
Pretty much. So, thanks for watching. Hope it was informative. And yeah, drop us a comment, give us a thumbs up, or do that thing that what did. Oh no.
Nice cat.
Yep.
Do that thing.
Yeah, it's like a hype button.
Oh.
Have you heard about this?
No.
YouTube added a hype button.
Nice. We could be hyped.
Yeah, please. Hype us. I don't know how to do it. So if you know how to do it, drop a comment so you can tell me how to do it. So that I can tell other people how to do it. It'll be like a chain event. Bye everyone. Catch you on the flippy flop.
Catch you on the flippy flop.